How's it going, guys? What of course you'll be seeing today is a breakdown of, at least in my opinion, the important changes from the September 30th patch. I'm not going to include all of them because hell, that would be like a 40-minute video. What I'll do is include the important ones in my opinion on those important ones, but I'll include the patch notes, so if you want to see each and every little specific tweak and change, then you can view them for yourself at your own viewing pleasure. This one here will be my opinion with some sniping conquest highlights in the back. So let's not waste any time, let's roll. First things first, they improved soldier movement to closely match that of Battlefield 3 while maintaining the animations of Battlefield 4, which is pretty self-explanatory. Looks like Battlefield 4, feels very much more crisp and quicker than to the feel of Battlefield 3, which in my opinion is a welcome change. Some won't like it, but I just felt Battlefield 4's animations felt so sluggish. I like the quicker pace. It's not too fast for me. The next one here, they added a pre-round ready state. The minimum players required per team calculated by the team with less players. So say you're playing in a round of 32, you need 8 guys to click the button ready on each side before the match start, which I really approve of. Some won't because they say I spent tons of money on a solid state drive. My superior hardware should enable me to get into the match early and dominate. But my opinion's always been it should always be a fair playing ground in terms of the match gameplay, and it should be settled by skill. If you have better aim and you have better situational awareness, you're going to dominate the guy playing with a hard drive anyway. So what the hell is the difference? It shouldn't be decided by hardware in terms of when a match starts. If your GPU's better, great. You have better frames? Better. Great. Destroy. If you're winning a match because the other team isn't even loaded into the match, like it almost feels like a gutless win. The team's not even there to defend. Like, how do you improve yourself there? I don't see the logic there, but let's kill that argument before people start flaming me for illogical reasons. The next one here is they fixed elevators for Dawnbreaker being active in basically all game types. So it's nice, less rooftop campers with XM25s raining down on hell. Raining hell on everyone. They fixed a high latency indicator tweak to give a better idea of when people are experiencing lag, which always, as everyone knows, my internet's shit, so comes in handy for me. They increased Chainlink game mode timers to 30 minutes, and ticket raid bleed time is down by 40%, which is nice, because sometimes you don't want to play in a 3,000 ticket Chainlink server, but you don't want to play in a 500, because that round will be over in like 5 minutes. They added classic server presets, so anyone who plays the original Battlefields knows that no vehicle or health regeneration. You can only spawn on squad members and no kill cams, so a lot of people will be a favorite of that one. They increased the gunship cooldown for Commander to 60 seconds, so if you're playing in, say, any of the open water style maps, playing in a boat isn't certain death with a good AC-130 gunner. The high frequency update is now on by default and can't be turned off, which is great news because that way at least everyone's on an even playing ground. It's easier that way, minus, idiosyncrasies between internet connections, which are an inconceivable proposition to control regardless. Anyway, reduce the time it takes to display incoming damage indicator, which is nice because sometimes I'd be shot and dead. I think that addresses sort of the one-shots. They made 100 tickets the default rush ticket value, which is nice. 75 tickets for 64 servers is done in less than a minute. They tweaked smoke effects. It's now bigger and has higher density and lasts longer. That'll come in handy for a lot of those choke point rush matches. The updated player icon to show a shield variant when using the 10% health reduction perk. That perk, as I've read in multiple different sources, isn't really a big 10% reduction per se. A lot of the time, it's more of a placebo effect, considering how much damage these guns actually put out versus which reduction counts. But it does give the indicator now anyway, if you were really interested to know. They added a functionality to be able to shoot while you're falling, but not jumping. And of course, they fixed a couple of minor exploits. They fixed an issue where health and ammo boxes would block the line of sight for defibs, so you don't have to shoot them anymore. Now, for visual recoil, close range sights and all medium range sights no longer affected by visual recoil. The random movement effects has nothing to do with the real weapons and doesn't affect it any longer, which is nice. They added a UI option for tweaking the aim down sight sensitivity. That's a separate thing now. They fixed an issue where opposing teams would initially spawn too close to each other in Team Deathmatch, and they sort of tweaked the spawns as well, which is nice for those Team Deathmatch fans out there. Flashbang now dims the HUD when players are affected by it. Now for jets, this is something that's probably been due since Battlefield 3. They improved the stall behavior of jets when the vehicles reach maximum heights of the map. So again, nice. There's all sorts of weapon tweaks now. Suppression's been reduced. They removed recoil modifiers for zoom. 70% reduction in hip recoil for general weapons anyway. They tweaked a lot of the weapons attachments too. Muzzle brake, heavy barrel, lasers. Standing buff for lasers has been increased. Heavy barrel has been buffed in terms of minimum moving spread, so tap firing over ranges is nice. They lowered the overall impact of the muzzle brakes. Both the positive and negatives have been reduced. Bullet velocity increases, basically in terms for slugs and nearly all suppressed weapons. Now in terms of the damage model, most weapons have had their max and minimum damage adjusted slightly. It might take one extra bullet to kill at extreme close range engagements and long range combat, which is what I was talking about in terms of affecting people at overall time. Trigger delay has been removed from all revolvers. Rejoice, all you revolver fans out there. The Desert Eagle took a hell of a nerf. DMRs no longer have that shoo 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 audio sound when a bullet whizzes by your head. The MBT law basically got changed so that you now have to actively engage the target for it to track. It's no longer a shoot and forget. It's much harder to have it track a random vehicle between you and your target now. And it no longer locks on the targets behind cover, and it begins tracking at 100 meters instead of 15. So it's no longer a shoot and get easy points. Slams have been reduced. The damage and blast radius is slightly reduced. 3 slams no longer take out a tank on their own. It only disables it. There's a whole list of changes in terms of grenades. I'm not going to go over every single one, but I will give you the rundown of basically the general trend. The general trend is basically you have a reduced capacity for the V40 minis and the Go. You can only carry 1 instead of 2, or except for the minis you can only carry 2 instead of 3. Blast radius was also reduced. In addition to that, pretty much every other explosive now has an increased time for regeneration if you're near like an ammo pack. Flashbangs are 9 seconds instead of 5. The minis and the Argos are, instead of 7 seconds, they're 25 and 13 seconds. Hand flares are 6 seconds instead of 1. And the whole list. The 40mm 3GLs are 18 seconds instead of 8. Smokes are 5 seconds. And the LVGs are 9 seconds instead of 8 now. Now the triage is probably the one that has the most improvements. They've adjusted the HUD options, and I can go in a separate video and talk about all of these separately in the future, but basically I'll give you a rundown of what they say here. They added advanced options for the HUD. You can make pretty much everything from enemy and teammates transparent. So say you're aiming at a guy that happens to be near a flag and your teammate's in the way. In the past, the flag and that guy's name indicator would obstruct your view, and sometimes it would get me killed a lot when I was playing in those Metros type matches. But you can adjust so when you aim now that they go transparent, so you can always see the enemy. It's a wonderful change. Aim down sight now causes auto transparency for HUD icons. That's what I was talking about there, but you can adjust it as much as you want as well. They added a new option for whether tapping the spot button will give attack and defense orders. So a lot of the time when I was spotting someone, especially when sniping, I would spot near a flag if I was the squad leader, and it would instantly just change the flag I wanted. And I'm like, no, it's not the flag I wanted. You have the option now of holding it in so that tapping for spotting doesn't interfere with it at the same time. A nice welcome change there. They fixed an issue where having space between the minimap and team deathmatch mode info bar. That's changed. They added advanced gameplay slider options to control the transparency of all HUD icons. I already alluded to that. They added advanced gameplay option to change the size of the minimap. Yes, you can change the minimap size. You can change the minimap icons and their scales now. So if you want the minimap size to stay the same, but you want certain aspects of the minimap changed, you can do that. and you can add a default minimap scale. So instead of going into a match and saying I want it at, like, I prefer 50 meter zoom, you can have it set at 50 meter zoom no matter what. Now you don't have to change it every time you start. That's another nice one. They added, but then of course, last but not least, the revive timer. They added a revive timer, and basically it's the circle around the revive icon, which basically lets you know. It's sort of a triage. You can choose who you want to revive based on who's down and who isn't. And they added a sound for whenever it's 100% versus low percent, and you can choose. They added a whole list of rush changes as well, but the biggest one I'm going to choose to say is that they disabled commander mode. A lot of people won't like it, especially if you were the commander on a team that always crushed the other team, but I thought it was a welcome change. It enables flanking and all sorts of other benefits. Those are the biggest ones I thought were important. There are other ones, of course, and I'll link the patch notes. You can decide for yourself. Let me know what you thought.